The chapter begins by showing that when Mullein closes her eyes, she sees the same vision Hal Jordan once did, a ring of light in the darkness. However, a voice tells her not to be afraid because she exists in the green level of light. She must be completely without fear. When Hal sees his friend, he notices the green light surrounding her looks just like Abinsur's, so he asks what the alien did to her. She says she has no idea what's going on. All she knows is that she's been having hallucinations. Then she looks at the energy emanating from her ring and says she felt something pulling her to this restaurant. Apparently that something was Hal himself. She takes the opportunity to ask what happened to Hal's hand, and he warns her not to get close because the black hand destroys anything it sees as a threat to Hal, and he can't control it. At this point, Joe becomes more aggressive and asks if Hal is the one who killed all those people. Hal swears he tried to stop it from killing the people in the restaurant, but he doesn't believe willpower controls the hand. He even begins reminding her of what happened to John, to Guy, and to Abin Sur himself. Then we jump back 5 days earlier to when that massive green lantern fell in the middle of Evergreen City. Abinsur came down from the lantern to the main street, and of course the whole town gathered around to see what was happening. Sheriff Guy Gardner and 2 officers confronted him while the alien insisted he existed in the green level of light and that they didn't need to be afraid. Guy Gardner ordered his officers to lower their weapons and hold back the crowd to avoid provoking the towering, mysterious being. He approached Abin Sur and tried to speak to him, explaining that he was the authority in the town. When Abin Sur didn't react, Guy asked if he knew what laws were. Abin Sur replied that he did, and he started summoning green energy into his hand while declaring that judgment was about to begin. Immediately, Guy and his officer drew their weapons and pointed them at Abin Sur, ordering him to stop. But Abin Sur simply said that the judgment was already underway. He told Guy that he was not currently an entity that existed in the spectrum of light, then told him not to be afraid. Guy was sweating with fear and nearly pulled the trigger. He only didn't do it because Joe appeared in the crowd, yelling at him to stop because a gun wouldn't do anything against an alien. She told him they already knew what Abin Sur was capable of, considering the spaceship and the bubble covering the city. Guy didn't know about the dome surrounding the city, so Joe reminded him it would be smart not to make the situation worse. After all, they didn't even know what the alien wanted yet. At that moment, Hal interrupted the story to talk about the crowd. Joe hadn't even noticed them because she was focused on Guy, hoping he'd do the right thing. According to Hal Jordan, the entire crowd showed shock, fear, and even religious awe. It was like everyone was holding their breath, waiting for Guy to decide their fate. Well, after a moment of intense tension, Guy lowered his weapon and ordered the other officers to do the same. Then he asked Abin Sur to please tell him what he wanted. Everyone felt relieved. According to Hal, you could feel the tension ease. But then, suddenly, Abin Sur simply obliterated poor Guy with a blast of green energy. Everyone was shocked by the scene, especially Hal, John, and Joe. That's when the screaming started, and just remembering that moment brings Mullein to tears. Abin Sur declared that Guy Gardner had been judged, and once again told them not to be afraid. This time, the officers who were with Guy fired at the alien, but the bullets bounced off a green force field. As the police kept firing non-stop, one of the ricocheting bullets hit a civilian in the crowd. Officer Rita regretted what had happened and stopped shooting, only for Abin Sur to decapitate her with his own hands. As for the other officer, who fired even more after seeing his partner and friend killed, Abin Sur simply severed the hand that was holding the weapon. Seeing this, Joe and John ran to stop the bleeding from the wound. They even asked Hal for help, but Hal chose to do something else. He picked up one of the officer's guns and pointed it at Abin Sur. Strangely, the alien didn't attack him. He just said that Hal Jordan's judgment was underway. Yes, somehow Abin Sur could identify people by name even though no one had told him. In that tense moment, John left Joe to keep pressure on the wounded officer and made an important decision. He stepped between Hal and Abinsur and told Hal not to shoot because Abinsur would kill him too, or at the very least sever his hand. With that, Hal reluctantly lowered the weapon, and Abinsur also addressed John by name, telling him not to be afraid. Then the alien turned into a ball of green energy and flew back into the Green Lantern, giving the group time to try to save the officer's life. In the present, Joe asks Hal what he did with the gun, and it emerges from Hal's black hand, revealing that he had kept the weapon this whole time. Knowing how dangerous it is to be there, Hal insists Joe leave, because the black hand has a kind of hunger. It wants the light. It wants not just the green light, but any spectrum, and the worst part is it doesn't want to absorb it. It wants to destroy it. He also mentions that this power is very ancient and should have been forgotten, but something fed it, and now a piece of it exists in everything. Hal tells Joe he's trying not to listen to it, but his eyes go dark as he says that thing keeps repeating that he was right. Back in the past, with the bubbles still over the city, Joe, Hal, and John meet again at Alan Scott's restaurant. They were still thinking about what they could have done differently, especially Hal. But in John's opinion, maybe Hal wasn't wrong. He knows no one is coming to save them, and they need to take Abin Sur out of the game on their own. Then he pulls Joe's wedding ring out of his pocket, saying he thinks he might know something that can solve the problem. That's how we find out that Abin Sur isn't on Earth to save anyone. He judges, he executes, and no one, absolutely no one, seems to be above this new law. It looks like the Green Lanterns of the absolute universe are not the protectors of Earth. Now tell me what you think of this story, and to make sure you don't miss the next chapters, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you next time.